Rolling on audio? Okay, so we are rolling. All right. Today is a new day. Welcome to the New Day Talk, where we talk about all things real estate. My name is Eddie Huan. I'm the owner of New Day Studio. Today I have some wonderful guests joining us today in this podcast.
Yes, my name is Luxan, and I work with Remax Diverse currently. Thank you, Eddie, for having
Yeah,
us.
my name's also E. Ortiz. Everybody know me as the CEO. I work for, I'm the loan officer. I work for Pride Lending.
Awesome. Um, all right. So the reason why I want to invite you guys in this episode is because you guys are one of the uh, like a few couples that working together on real estate. You are a real estate agent, and Celso is the loan officer. So that's very unique. So I want to bring you guys and show other people how you build your like successful business and how you work together as a couple.
Mm.
And also like I want to hear about your like story, how you started.
So the question is, how long do you have? Do we have
Yeah.
3 hours?
So
Yeah.
thank you. First, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor just to be here. Um, Pretty much, Luxan gonna give you more details. How she was here in the '90s. I'm not. I came to the United States in 2006, but
Okay.
she can actually explain you a little bit. How
Yeah.
we get together, how we just start, working in this industry, the real estate industry. That was, is amazing. Hopefully, I always say, we can keep it, working, for longer,
Yeah.
but, I'm going to let, Luxan just to.
Yeah, so I guess, the story pretty much starts off with our son. A lot of people probably know, and there's people that probably don't know, but our son was diagnosed with autism back in 2004.
Okay.
And after that diagnosis,
That was in Puerto Rico.
that
Yeah,
was
was
back
back in
in
Puerto
Puerto
Rico, yes.
Rico, and um, at that time, Puerto Rico had very limited resources, and almost nobody knew what autism was. And I had grown up in Tampa, Florida when that was back in the 80s. And I decided, well, if we can come out of Puerto Rico, kind of like go to Tampa and see if we can get him better services, better schooling, and things like that. Um, so Celso at the time was a very successful police officer,
Oh wow.
and I used to be a senior accountant for a very nice association called the Caribbean Hotel Association.
Wow.
And I used to travel 6 months out of the year. 6 months out of the year, I was at the office. And when our son had his diagnosis, it pretty much changed our life very dramatically. Um, I feel after that, we sort of went through our own process
Okay.
as husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
I would even say that our marriage was tested
I see.
several
Yeah.
times
Wow.
because of the stress of dealing with that diagnosis, not knowing what comes next. There's also a lot of guilt
Mm-hmm.
when you receive a diagnosis like that with your child. You feel like you did something different or did something wrong, and then after that, it just builds up like a snowball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the good thing is that once I decided to move from Puerto Rico to Tampa, my son did start at a new school, new program, and then things kind of like started picking up. And at that time, I stopped working completely because my focus was entirely my
On
son.
him. Okay.
Yes,
Wait, so your son was diagnosed in Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
see. And how old was he back then?
He was two.
It was.
He was two
Oh,
years
okay.
old. Yes.
Wow.
So that's how we ended up shifting from Puerto Rico to Florida. Of course, at about 8 months passed. Celso actually stayed behind in Puerto Rico,
I had
which
to pay the
was
bill and the rent. And we also had another daughter, the elder, so
Yeah.
Gary. So
yes, yeah,
um, that was a little bit, challenge for everybody, to make it that move. But you know what it is. We had to do whatever we had to do for our family. So that's what we did.
Yeah. And we I started doing a little bit more research. I had no idea what special education was or what it entailed. And then after several months, Celso was able to come up to Florida. We fortunately got our first apartment, and then we were there pretty much 5 years. I think it was 5 years we were in Tampa. Um, I started actually working towards that fourth, almost, end of the fifth mark
Mm.
for the Tampa Bay Pilots as a senior accountant again. And then Celso, actually, we worked right alongside. It's strange how we end up always working alongside each other. He was actually working with the Tampa Pilots, which are
The Port
the Port
Authority.
Authority.
Oh wow.
I was working with the pilots, and most of the time, the pilots would go through Celso to actually get into the port.
Mm.
So once he did the port officer thing, I started seeing Alex kind of like reverse back, or what they call in the autism world as regressing.
I see.
So the skills that he had learned, he suddenly started to lose them, and we would see negative behaviors. And I was working, and all of a sudden I would get a phone call. Hey, you need to pick up, your son because he's having this issue. So that's when I started sort of going online and seeking again where are the best places that we can go that service autism again.
Oh,
And for
okay.
some reason, Massachusetts always kept popping up. And
Mm.
it was either Massachusetts, California, and Arizona.
Okay.
And of course, we had never, I had never lived in the West Coast. I never lived in Central USA. So I said, I think our best bet is to go up north
Yeah.
and try it out. And then, of course, we came in a couple of times. We would travel, check out places, check out schools, rents, housing, all of that good stuff to find out if it was something that we could actually achieve. And we ended up moving in July of 2010.
That you
Um,
did, yeah.
I did. I drove all the way from Tampa to here to Massachusetts. We pulled a U-Haul. We ended up, selling most of our things, and then we just drove up. And Alex started in Hudson, which is where we've been living there for since 2010. And then a year later, Celso actually came up from Florida again
Again, I
to
was paying the bill.
Massachusetts.
Gotcha.
So, and of course, like initially in Tampa, the initial years here, I wasn't working either. I was basically just getting everything set up for my son, my daughter.
Mhm.
Um, and then all of a sudden I said, okay, I think I can get back again into working.
Mm.
So I started working at Beacon Residential. Is a big company in Boston for residential properties, and they told me that I would be doing accounting.
Mhm.
And then um, literally 3 days after I started, my property manager quit.
Oh
She
wow.
left, and I was left there, doing leases, touring, and doing almost everything for the property when I wasn't technically supposed to, but
Oh wow.
they never replaced the manager for quite some time.
I
I
see.
was actually doing that for 9 months.
So that's your beginning, like getting into real estate,
Yes,
dealing with leasing and
yes,
management and tenants. Okay.
yes. Very, very different.
Mhm.
If probably someone would have asked me at that time, would you want to be a real estate agent, I would have said to them they were crazy, because I was not used to dealing with people. Accountants were always in the far back of all the offices.
Mhm.
Most of the time, you hear from us when you owe us money.
Yeah.
Other than that, we don't. We don't have too much interaction
Mhm.
with people. So that was kind of like that first experience, and then a very major part was when they decided to take the accounting positions out of the properties itself and they wanted to move to Boston Government Center. And at that time, my son was going through these challenges again. And I said, I can't go to Boston. It would be too far away if I have to pick him up and have to drop him again at my house. So I told him that I would train happily another person that would come over, but I couldn't take that position. So I ended up my tenure there. And then a little voice actually started telling me, well, you've been doing this for quite some time. Why don't you take the real estate exam, the real estate course? And that's how Celso was able to convince me to actually start that route. But yeah, that's our initial story of how I ended up being in real estate.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
it is crazy. So, I just want to go back to the beginning. I know Luxan just say a little bit of our history, but we actually, we met in college back in Puerto Rico, right? So we are college sweethearts, so we always been together. So, what was that, 1996 or something like
Yeah.
that? And then, believe it or not, yeah, I became to be a cop in Puerto Rico, obviously in the city where we used to live. So, again, I see Luxan pretty much every day. Even I was working, I can just go to my house and see my family.
Yeah.
After that, when they moved to Tampa, yes, like I said, we had to do whatever we had to do for our family. So they moved. I had to stay in Puerto Rico for longer because I had, go to the court. I had to set up everything, with my department before, I resigned. I was able to, to move with them in Tampa. Obviously, I know, back then my English, English is my second language, right? So back then in Puerto Rico, yeah, I know a little bit of English, but I wasn't speaking fluent English at all. So I take some English classes, and actually, apply. I don't. This is weird, right? Because I apply, for different positions, sheriff department, Tampa Port Authority, Tampa, police, and they call me almost all of them, to actually get the training. But the Tampa Port Authority offered me a job, so that's when I started working with them. Few months later, Luxan actually, decided to go back to work, and then she ended to work, for the Tampa Pilot. So I was like, I don't know, like 2 minutes from my office. So I was like, okay, sometimes we actually travel together, right?
Yeah.
So we did that, even, we work almost in the same place. We always be, together. When we decided to move to Massachusetts, right, that was the same thing. I know she mentioned that she worked for Beacon Community.
Yeah.
So I was a maintenance technician for that company before I started working with that company. And then Luxan actually, they opened the position for the accounting.
Yeah.
And then when I told her, hey, what apply for? Because it's right here in town. He actually gonna work with me, right? So I was there in one of the property. So that's almost the third time we actually start, working together again. And then when she decided to do the real estate, or looking forward for that, so far, been doing great. She's, she was looking, she started doing, working in that field. She was doing great, but I think so she told me, mentioning, one, like she having problem to find a LO that actually speaks Spanish. So back in Florida, I didn't mention that in Puerto Rico, I used to work for Santander Bank. I did, teller. I was like a repo man.
Yeah.
I did everything. So I know a little bit of the background too. In Florida, meantime, before I was a port authority, I did loan when almost everybody can do a loan, back in 2005, 2006. And then, when I moved over here, she just mentioned it like, she having problem. And she's the one that told me, I already got my MLS number, stuff like that. She's the one that told me, well, get your license and help me out with all my Spanish, clients. So that's when I started doing the, in the business. I started like a part-time, right? Because I used to work for Homeland Security as a contractor.
Yeah.
But, after 5 o'clock, I was able to, just to help her with all the, the Spanish client.
Yeah.
Thank God, everything went so far that everybody started seeing, saying, hey, I see you closing all your deal. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so, Celso now is a hello. So he actually helped me out to close all the deal. So that's when actually, we finally, this we back to work together.
Back working together. I don't know. I think it's one of those weird things that we've tried to work completely separate, but we always end up working together. And it has, to your point, it has its challenges,
To say the
as
least.
as a married
You know the
couple.
movie Hancock with Will Smith, like they're separate, but when they
Yeah.
get together, they, start.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always try to. It's hard to maintain that balance of separating
Yeah.
what is, our
You talk about work
personal
all the
life
times. Yeah.
and not talking about work all the time. It's hard because you still have to remind yourself that you're a couple, you're a married couple, you have your family. It's sometimes it's hard because of course some clients, they don't realize that we have families too, and in our case, we're sometimes we can be together for the majority of the day, and sometimes Celso's like running with other clients, other realtors, and then I'm doing my own thing on the side. So it's hard to maintain that balance, but we're if we I always tell everybody, if we were able to survive 2020 and we literally lift off our cars during those 2 years, 2020 and 2021, we think we could be good any time of the year.
So you mean COVID or what?
COVID, because
Okay.
it was we were very busy, as I'm sure a lot of great agents were during that time, but it was hard because we had so much work that we literally lived in our cars. Like we
Wow.
would, I would tell him in the morning, okay, I'm gonna prepare something for the whole day,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that we're not gonna be here. And I would tell my mom, you need to pick up my son. It was hard arranging all of that, and still have time for us to relax at the end of the day, which
Yeah.
most of the time during those years was at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And we had also clients that were nurses, or doctors or police officers, and then we would be taking calls at 11:30,
Mm.
when they came off their shifts.
Wow.
So it was a tough time.
Yeah.
No, I can totally relate because Mandy and I, when we get to like a busy season, we experience that as well.
Yeah.
And Mandy were like when she got pregnant with Mila,
Mhm.
she literally was staging a house by 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we had to do what we had to do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally relate to that. So right now it's slower than 2020, so it feels like a nice vacation for you, isn't it?
In our
It's-
case, not necessarily. We've kept busy, thank God. I think that we've been blessed with having past clients and people that continuously refer business to
Yeah.
us, which is great. And of course, Celso, other than myself, he also works with other realtors too. I think one of the challenges to us has been as a married couple and also in the same business is sometimes, at least Celso has been able to work consistently with other realtors. It's been tough because people always seem to think that because we're husband and wife, we only work with each other.
Mm.
So it's been
And
tough.
sometimes, sorry to say, but it's just they have bad experience with other, even realtor or long officer. They do,
I
they
see.
work together, they live together, or they
Right.
know each other together. So we just, like we try to break that, that concept that people they think like, oh, is Mandy actually referred me another, realtor Mandy referred me a
Yeah.
client. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna pre-approve, and then I'm gonna say, oh, I'm gonna give it to Luxan.
Mm.
Or I'm
Yeah.
gonna ghosting you and whatever. So we I try to be like I telling everybody my word is my my life. So
Yeah.
if I do something such like that I can't forgive myself.
Yeah.
And that's the reason actually I start doing mortgages because she had the bad experience. They actually happened to her when she started. Like, she referred like 3 clients, and those 3 clients that start, the two, just one came back and she said, what, this person who actually you sent me, they referred me to another,
Yeah.
realtor.
Yes,
And that way
I
she
remember
found
that.
out. And then,
Yeah.
she was so sad. She was crying because she was mad.
Right. When you
it-
refer someone, you
it-
want them to be
yeah,
in good
in
hands.
good hand.
Yeah.
And then, and when you see buying another property with another agent, they actually, they started with you, and for any reason, somebody just,
Yeah, it reflects back to
And
you.
clients are very honest.
Mhm.
Clients, whenever that happens, they would call me and tell me, hey,
Right.
you refer me to this person, and she was supposed to help me with the loan, and of course, I told her, she knows that we were working together, and then all of a sudden, they were passing them to another realtor, and that. In that specific situation, I had even done a video with this person. Like I had done marketing and all of that with that person, and then I felt like I was literally betrayed. In the sense that she a client that I had referred, it was referred to another realtor, and I
Wow.
and I
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people that are in the industry, they've had that experience, and they feel like we're gonna do the same.
Yeah.
It isn't until they actually know us personally and know with the other people that we have
Yeah.
been able to work with, that then that's when they find, okay, wait a minute, they're not, that's not something that we tend to do. I feel like we have such a great reputation
Yeah.
that we have to uphold, and at least you'll never hear us doing that.
Yeah.
And I feel like still, people that are coming into the business new, they automatically think, oh, because they're husband and wife, they're gonna be taking our clients away.
And that's one of the biggest challenge what we have right now. Like, whoever, I do business with realtor is because they already know me. They know,
Yeah.
how good I am. This is crazy. But most likely, I feel, sometimes it's sad because I work with different, obviously, you work with different, like transaction coordinator, you work with another attorney,
Yeah.
and those person, they actually, they know who who are good and
Yeah.
who is not the best one in the
Right.
industry. And when they actually send you the email and they refer you, hey, listen, I mentioned it to you, to this person, to this realtor, because you're really good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have the conversation with them. And I tell them straight,
Yeah.
I say, I introduce myself, but I always say, hey, my wife is Luxan Saya, she's a realtor too, because I want to be, honest with everybody. I
Yeah.
don't want to hide it that. I don't want to do, because
Yeah.
they don't have, they're not gonna affect my, the way what I work. But
Yeah.
I don't want to, hiding, that,
Yeah.
information for no one.
Right.
And some of them, they actually, start, give me the chance to start working. So far they're great. Some of them, they just, sometimes they just stop. They don't give me
Yeah.
the opportunity. They just move around, because what happened in the past when people talking about the same bad experience what she had. Well, you know what, I'm not gonna do it. I prefer to to have no business with you at all, than you're gonna think in that way with from me. So you
Yeah,
wanna
I see.
deal with me, you have to deal with the CEO, and like me how
Yeah.
how I work. So
It's all about trust. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah,
like our
definitely.
industry has always been about trust. If you don't trust in someone, or if you have clients that don't trust in you, it's very hard to work with people.
Yeah.
If they don't actually trust you. So I like, our basis is whoever wants to work with us, we're open and happy to work with them.
Yeah.
We trust in each other. We trust that they are doing the correct thing too, and we just want to work together. I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of business going on in the state that there's plenty for a lot of us.
For sure,
I
yeah.
I never think that, oh, because this person is doing the same, they're my competition. I've always said that everybody has their own uniqueness in this industry.
Yeah.
Some people are more patient than others. Some people are more willing to go an extra mile for their clients. Others are a little bit more reserved, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
They have their clientele that they feel comfortable doing that. So there is a lot of challenges within the industry, but I feel like once you have a partner, and it's even more challenging because of the stigmas that exist.
Yeah.
And we're trying to break those barriers.
Yeah.
No, I think you're doing a great job, because Yo, what? You're the vice president of NAREP now?
Yes, yeah, yeah. This year, I've been a very big part of NAREB. I've actually knew about the organization about 6 years ago.
Oh wow.
Can you
I
explain what
went,
NARA means?
yes, so NARA,
Yes.
for those that don't know, is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals.
Wow.
It, like the name says, it's a national organization. It's, the whole mission is for us to having sustainable home ownership for the Latino community.
Yeah.
Very similar to
Aria.
to
Aria,
ARIA.
Yeah.
So we I started going for a business rally. I remember that was my first event, and
I was there.
yes,
Yeah, I remember,
yes.
yeah.
I went to that event.
Yeah, so I actually went to a very similar event back, 6 years ago, and I felt completely in love with what, the organization represented, their mission, and just the people, just the networking and the whole experience. So I started looking into it more. I actually was the treasurer for the Central Mass chapter when it first started as well.
I see.
And then
Yeah, Massachusetts had two chapters.
yes, it has
Really?
two.
Yeah.
It has the Boston chapter, and it also has the Central Mass chapter. And we started there, and then from there, of course, I started to move more into the Boston area. So then I said, okay, let me join the board. So I started as an advisor in our board, I remember, and then slowly I was introduced to the government affairs director, and then I did that for about 2 years,
Wow.
and then this
I didn't
year,
even know.
yes, this year I was nominated to be the vice president, and thankfully I've been serving for a short period of time, but it's been going great
And
so
guess,
far.
guess what?
Mhm.
I'm also part of the organization. So, I started, this year as a advisor too. So,
Is that one of those golf chalk? Par.
why not, right?
Yeah, so it's always it's a great organization. It has definitely opened up, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
I've been able to meet a lot of great agents in the area, in the Boston area, and it's just been a good referral business as well, and also the education. So there's been a lot of components to NARAB that I attribute to my success, as a real estate agent. So I always encourage everybody that, if you're passionate about something, just join and try to be a part of it,
Yeah.
because it's going to help you in the long run.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So let me go diving into like your profession, right? So for example, if someone wants to buy a house for the first time, and they need to apply for a loan, and after applying for the loan, and they want to buy a house, so how does it work for some people?
All right,
Can you like kind of like explain the process step by step?
So most of the time, I'm gonna do a briefing. So, most likely now with the technology we have, people they can actually, do everything online.
Yeah.
At least, pretty much everybody had the platform. They can actually hit the link and they just complete the application online. So the first time, you have to be prepared, ready. Obviously, most, likely they're going to ask you for 2 year, work history. They're going to ask you for at least, 2 years, for, addresses when you live for the past 2 years. Obviously, pay stuff, W-2 for the last 2 years. And then when you get all collecting those information, documentation, you can actually apply for.
Okay.
When you apply for, every loan officer, they're going to get, the information. They're going to call you, confirm everything, was correctly. Obviously, they're going to put you credit. They're going to find out, when they put you credit, they're going to know, for which program you can actually go for, right? So we have too many programs right now that actually, it's taking too long, to discuss.
Right.
But pretty much normally you can get it. Excuse me. Obviously, with your job information, we're gonna know for how much you can qualify for, right?
Okay.
It depends, how many people they are, what's your salary, obviously, what's, saving you have in the bank, right? So different programs have different, down payments. So we can explain everything as soon as they complete the application. We run, like I said, we run credit, we check, verify, your employment, we do everything, and then we actually come out with a pre-approval, right? We can let you know, hey, for the single family, this is, you can, looking for, you can two family, three, four. That's a different scenario. We can actually run different scenario with the client. So when they have that idea in mind and they're set up, that's when actually, the real estate agent actually come to play, because now they can actually looking and actually, put in the search. So I'm gonna let Luxan, talk about that, because it's just
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
So
I,
before we get to that, so
Sure.
they have to prepare at least 2 years to
It's, most of
before
the
the
most of the
search?
case. I mean, if you are in college, obviously you graduate and you start working right away. Obviously, you don't have to wait the 2 year, right?
I see.
Would you have to prove like you was in college and you got your degree?
Okay.
So
And you have to do you have to work at a job that's is similar to your degree? Something like
most
that?
likely, underwriter want to see that. Obviously, what I can say, you spend like, too much money, go to college, and unfortunately, most of the people they can't find a job, when they went through, college. But we try to make it happen. So
I see.
every scenario is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have the answer always, I can find it. But most of the time, yes. So you actually went to college. Obviously, if you went to college for criminal justice, you want to be a cop, So obviously, you don't want to be
Right.
working in the, supermarket. You want to, be
I see.
working in any police department,
I see.
law enforcement. So that's technically, what they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they got a pre-approval. What is next?
What is next? So they have
So
to.
yeah, so normally, after they've done, their process with the loan officer, I am very big at doing what I call a buyer, um, a buyer orientation. So I if I am working with Celso, I'll kind of like bring him in to that orientation. If I'm working with another loan officer, the same thing. I feel like having all parts at the table and explaining, to the client, this is what you qualify. These are the properties that we can start looking at. And I
Okay.
discuss the process. I'm very clear of what the expectations are. Working with myself and the loan officer, and also what the expectations are based on what they have been approved for. Um, and if I have to, if I have my computer or a TV, we can kind of like go through the properties. And I'm very, I guess, passionate about education. I feel like if you educate your client well, you'll have less headaches during
Yep.
the
Yep.
process.
Yeah.
If you don't do that initially, what tends to happen is that your client is going to be playing catch up during the whole process. And I myself don't like playing catch up when
Yeah.
I'm purchasing. And I feel like purchasing a home, it's one of the biggest investments that we can ever have. And for you, I don't take that lightly. So I try to accommodate them in a scenario where they can feel free to ask me questions, feel free to ask questions to the loan officer, get all their doubts and questions out of the way.
Okay.
And then that way the process flows easier.
I love that.
Um,
So, has there been any incident where they like, no, I don't want to do the buyer orientation. I just want to buy. Show me the houses. Have you have any of those, and how do you deal with that?
I actually had clients that they've come to me with already, an approval, and they're like, hey, I just want to, I have my peer approval already. I just want to see the house.
Yeah,
I do take them for that first initial showing.
I see.
I feel like it's good for them to know me, how I am in person,
Okay.
and I can also sense how they are and how I think
I
I could
see.
best.
So you kind of
serve
get to
them.
know them on the first showing,
Yes.
and then what they want to buy.
Yeah.
Yes,
see.
yeah. And then I feel like once they kind of like know me, a lot of people tend to say that I'm like soft spoken, I'm very patient in the way that I talk. So I feel like they order sort of open up and they say, okay, yeah, now I think I can sit down and go over the process, and then we set up an appointment, and we do the orientation.
I see.
I feel like once they finish the orientation, those clients that have done that, then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that I had to do this or I shouldn't do that. So it at the end they really appreciate it. They're like, oh,
I see.
I thought it was just a matter of just going out and taking a look at the houses, and once they do the orientation, they can see the purpose of why it's being done.
I see. So touching on what you said about you being like soft-spoken and patient and like and loves education, has it always been your personality, or do you think it has some part with your son
And
situation?
yes, I would say people that knew me before
How
my
you know
son.
that?
No, I just
And
I just
Celso
have a
can attest
question.
to
I'm
that.
curious.
Celso can attest to that. I was a very different person prior to my son, and then I became who I am today, which I am so thankful. I think our son has changed our lives to the better. I feel like, with all the challenges that has brought, having a son with special needs,
Yeah,
at the same time, you feel more compassion towards people.
I totally agree. Yeah,
And I feel like prior to my son, I lacked that compassion and
Yeah.
lacked that patience.
yeah, yeah,
I can also detect when people, are not understanding completely or they feel lost.
yeah.
I feel like there's a part of me that I can assimilate to them, and I feel like a lot of clients actually appreciate the patience and me being so understanding of their situation.
I agree. So, I feel the same thing when, I have like Mila, like when she was born, like it completely changes me as well. So, now that she can, 1 year and a half, I can kind of see if I do something and she gonna mimic right away.
Yes.
So I have to be the best possible, and I think twice before I say anything.
Yeah.
And like I think kids change you forever.
Oh
Yeah.
For the
yes,
better. Yeah.
your mindset just changes
Yeah.
completely. Even before they're born.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with both, especially my daughter, I don't know what it is, but if it's nature, what it is, but you start thinking differently.
Yeah.
Your
For sure.
priorities.
It's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
No,
It's always about
no.
them now.
Yeah.
No, and your priorities change
Yes,
completely.
completely.
You're more focused into, okay, what do I need to do in order for my family to overcome,
Yeah.
anything that comes our way.
Yeah.
And having a child with special needs will test you in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard also because our daughter, she's you met her,
Yeah.
she's so bright, but she also was very important in our life because she actually was a mentor for our son,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she actually made me Luxan because it's not probably you had a brother sister with disability and somebody say something you're gonna jumping on it, right? And then Jari was that was Jari, but she was so kind to explain everybody my
Yeah.
son condition, why he acting like that, why he's like he not say hi or maybe he not looking to you eyes.
Yeah.
So that was part everything
Yeah.
was I say
Yeah.
Luxan is she's not because my wife, but she's a great mother,
Yeah.
and then they always take care them, but she actually I'm proud because she actually get that feeling of compassion as
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
I'm more aggressive, I'm more like I go to the point, I like but thank God we actually have that in our family, so we can actually pass through.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was tough. It was
Yeah.
tough. And I don't remember the old me. It's been such a long time.
Me either, thank God.
Yeah. So not to go off track, but okay. So they have a pre-approval. They go out and have a orientation with you, and they go out. Now they can go out searching for the house. And once they saw the house that they felt they can fall in love. Like what is next, and people be aware of?
Well, there's a lot of, of course, things have changed dramatically from the past few years. Normally, we would 2020, a lot of people were waiving their inspections. We were paying, they were paying money
Yeah.
above their appraisals, and there was a lot of crazy, unusual things that were happening during that time.
Yeah.
And we're getting back again to the point that people are doing back again inspections,
Yeah.
which again is a great thing for the clients,
Yeah.
the buyers. So after the offer has been accepted, hopefully they're doing a home inspection. I typically go with my buyers for that home inspection. I'm there as almost as a support, but
Yeah.
also as a second ear, right?
Yeah.
I think with experience, there's certain things that you kind of like can see
Spot
and
right away.
right away.
Yeah.
Even before the inspection, I can, if depending on which program they're buying with, I can see things that I know that are gonna impose, a problem with
I
the lending, and that's why we exist.
Yeah.
That's why we're agents, because we want to
You keep
protect.
the deal alive.
Yes, we want to protect our clients. We want them to be happy with their purchase. This is not, this is not just buying a candy bar.
Yeah.
One
of the most, the biggest transaction that they can ever have in their
Yes.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not taken lightly. So we go through, if they're doing the inspection, I'm there with them. Once we get that inspection report back, I take the time to go through the home inspection report with them. And then, once we figure out what things they are going to be requesting, they either have their, seller request to fix them
Yeah.
or have a credit. And then after that process is done, then we go for the process of signing the purchase and sale.
Okay. Oh, so a quick question, like how do you, so what is, how, sorry, let me rephrase that. Okay. So how do buyer know at what price they should buy that property? Do they just make it up on their mind, or
Good question.
you advise them and they go with what you advise?
Yeah, so great question, by the way. So the way, at least how I do the work, is that I do an evaluation for my clients. So if we go out and see 4 properties that and 2 out of those properties they are really looking to put in an offer, I actually do a home evaluation for them, so they can they can see themselves with the comparables what that range should be.
Okay.
I don't tend to tell my clients this is the price that you have to put in, but I do give them the suggestion. I also give them the range where they can see more or less, what the houses around have sold for, and then they can make their best decision of what that offer would be. And of course, I tend to use my own techniques. I won't go into much into detail into that, but I use my techniques and how to, do the offers and try to get our offers to be the ones accepted. It definitely, when I'm working with Celso, to the eyes of the seller agent, it's almost a plus when I tell them I'm working with my spouse. He's the loan officer. There's a pressure that comes into that, and I feel like most of the seller agents know that
if the deal fails through,
I still alive, right?
if the deal fails through, like none of you gets paid, so that's kind of the pressure. So
yes.
People think that you're more inclined to make it happen.
Yes,
I
yeah.
see.
We're more committed.
Yeah,
That at
exactly.
the end of the day, we're more committed.
And you communicate it more.
And we communicate because I always tell the seller agents, neither us wants to lose time, and I don't want them to lose time either.
I see.
That's the reason, part of my job is so important. People say, oh, loan officer, they just deal with paperwork. I say, no, because we are the heart, right? Because without me, right? Yeah, I don't do
There's
my
no
job.
money.
It's no money for listing,
Yeah.
buyer's
The
agent,
buyer, yeah.
attorneys, insurance
No money.
company. So,
Yes.
if you actually make any mistake or you don't know how to do it correctly, you don't play with your own, food. You play with everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, we just want to have the nice transaction that everybody can enjoy it because when you purchase a property, this is it's like you get married, right? When
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get married,
yeah.
you want to be happy,
Even
Yeah.
more expensive than marriage.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
The
But I put it
man.
that way. So,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Okay. So what is? Let me. Oh, we it was yeah. So yeah, I know. I can kind of tell from the recording. So, um, let's see. What is the transaction? Let me talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
What is the transaction that you feel most proud of till today?
Oh wow. To me personally, I was able to help a family in Lawrence
Mm.
that had a child with autism.
Similar to your
Very
situation.
similar,
Yeah.
very similar story. They were living in a second floor apartment. Kids with autism, when they're in their younger years, part of their, I guess, part of the autism, I guess, how can I put it? Part of the autism,
It's just
they tend to jump a lot because
run, they jump,
they
they
do a
just.
lot of what they call stimming.
I see.
Mhm.
So when our kids are doing that, it's very hard. They don't have the capability of understanding that they have to stop jumping.
Yeah.
Rather than when you're talking to a regular, typical 7-year-old, you can tell them, please stop jumping, and they'll understand.
Yeah.
It's something in their body that they unfortunately cannot control.
Yeah.
And this family was hurting a lot because their son was causing them to have problems with their neighbors downstairs,
And they were renting there.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
were renting.
Okay. So they decided to.
They
to-
decided to look into.
I see.
They were told many times that they wouldn't be able to purchase, and of course, Celso started talking to them.
Wow. So you were the loan officer.
Yeah, I
in
was a
that
loan
case.
officer. Yes,
That's
so
even better.
it just so our problem is the community Latino is like they think they cannot qualify. They think that's too much for them, right?
right.
So when they actually give me the opportunity to explain how this process, work, most of them they can qualify for this.
Really?
So yeah, it's just they always have something like I told the people if your credit is you have problem with your credit, that is something you can fix it, right? If you need money, that is something you can actually find, because you always
Gift
have the family
money,
on gift or
grant,
something like
yeah.
that. So it's what do you want to do? Like, you got two choices. At least
Yeah.
you have the information now. If you qualify now, go ahead, go with the whole process, right?
Yeah.
If you need some help in the future, at least you had the step you had to do, to
Yep.
get to qualify.
Agreed.
So that
Yeah.
family, that was great. They actually they were able to to qualify for it. So they get surprised. I was like, yeah, you don't need that. This is what you can do. And
Yeah.
we was like very pleased because when they actually purchased that property, the kid was doing their parents, they're more relaxed. They can
Yeah.
actually they can let him be happy, like
I can already feel the relief.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
because when you're living on a day to day and your neighbors are literally tapping you from the bottom with their broomstick,
Yeah.
it gets to
It's
a
a
point
stress.
because you feel stressed. You feel like there's some things that again, this is something that we can't necessarily control at the moment when it happens. So. The mom was very emotional. She was very stressed out.
Yeah.
She's like, we feel like we're not living in our place because people are always bothering us. They would come upstairs and knock on their door,
Yeah.
telling them to be quiet. So And she said, you know, we're good people, we're good neighbors, but there's certain things that unfortunately because of our son's diagnosis we can't control.
I see.
So seeing them when they first went to the final walkthrough and they brought him in, it just reminded me because their son did a lot of similar things as my son, and it just felt very good.
Yeah.
That was one of those transactions that it was good feeling as an agent and as a person.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So I wish we can talk more, but we're running out of time. So
I told you we needed 4 hours.
so let's wrap up. And so for any like young real estate agent or loan officer, do you have any like quick advice for them, or like
Networking.
networking?
Yes.
Okay.
And never give up.
Networking.
Most likely, I remember when I, get back to this industry, I met with a lot of people in the networking, and they asked me, "Oh, you want to do a loan officer? Why you want to do that? Why you want to do this? Just go do another thing."
Right.
I was like, "Why?" It's a lot of fish in the sea, and just for that, I'm not gonna go over there and try to fish in something.
Yeah.
So it's just never give up. Just go to networking, like
Yeah.
Luxan say, meet a good people. You're gonna notice, in this industry, you can go far as you want. Same thing with
Yes.
you guys. You just started, with that vision to be, like video, photo, stuff like that. And look at you. Now you have everything, right? So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say everything, but we definitely
Are you sure? I see that.
we're definitely very blessed to have a lot of like great
Yes.
business partners
Yeah.
Yes.
to partner with us on this journey.
Yeah.
I always say good people attract good people.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for our businesses. If you're a good business person and you maintain, your ethics, and you're very straightforward, but at the same time you're a good person, then people are still going to continue to refer you business out. And, and we've seen it with you guys. And we're so blessed and fortunate. People that have been coming up, we always give them advice and try to help them as much as we can, because we knew that we were once there.
Yeah.
We were beginners. All of us were beginners at one point in time.
Yeah.
And I remember certain things that were being said to us when we were starting. And I try to break that stigma too, and try to encourage people that are coming up, even if they're real estate agents or not real estate agents. And the best advice is network as much as you can. That's
okay.
always going to be a great
Surround
start.
yourself with the people who you want to become.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And that's it, guys. So for everyone who's watching, especially the Hispanic and Latino community, if you have any question about loan or real estate, I'll leave Celso's information right here and Luxan's information right here. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Gracias.
Gracias a Dios.